Welcome to the deep dive. So if you've ever, stared at a blank page or really struggled to make your words sound as vivid as the thoughts buzzing in your head, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're plunging into this really thought-provoking essay. It argues that the fastest way to sharpen your writing, it actually has almost nothing to do with writing itself. It's entirely about changing how you read and, maybe surprisingly, how you travel too. Our mission today is pretty laser-focused. We want to give you concrete, actionable methods, ways to make your writing richer, not by just banging out more words, but by radically shifting the quality of your attention. The source material kicks off from a very human place. Basically, we are all writers, even if that just means keeping a secret journal or, scribbling notes in the margins of a book. What's interesting about the author's own story is that their path wasn't exactly typical. They admit they didn't really become a good reader until, about 16?
Yeah, 16.
And their professional writing. It started out purely technical reports, documents, that kind of dry stuff. Later, they mentioned the only time they really felt compelled to write more personal reflections or stories was when they were, and this is a quote, in love.
Right. And that initial delay, that late start with reading, I think it's key. It really highlights a fundamental issue.
Yeah.
Often, we write because we feel we have to. Or maybe because we want approval, right? Whether that's for a grade or a paycheck or maybe just validation from someone we admire.
Like a crush, yeah.
Exactly. But the crucial pivot the author describes happens later. When they come back to writing later in life, that motivation totally shifts. It stops being about performance, about impressing an audience or getting that external thumbs up. It becomes about sheer discovery, just writing for yourself. And that movement from needing that outside validation to really listening to that quiet inner voice, that's the absolute secret. That's what makes the words flow genuinely easily.
That makes a lot of sense. But let me bring in the analogy the essay uses, because it really makes this point land. Travel. Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because, well, the source makes this truly fascinating connection. It links how we choose what to read while traveling with how we approach the world around us generally. Basically, the book you slip into your carry-on, it apparently reveals everything about your observational style.
It's a great insight.
The essay identifies three distinct types of travel readers. First up, the thriller reader. The type needs noise-canceling headphones, blazes through a 500-page book on the flight.
Right.
Then completely forgets the plot before they even get to baggage claim.
Just pure consumption, almost.
Yeah.
Then you've got the guidebook skimmer. This is the person who only reads the top 10 must-see list.
Yeah.
They treat the city like a checklist, basically.
Totally.
They deliberately skip the quirky history bits or the local lore tucked away in the back because, well, it doesn't serve the immediate itinerary. It's not efficient. And then finally, the third type. The poetry reader. This person might carry just a slim book, and they're reading the world just as much as the page, really. They'll pause in a cafe or maybe on a park bench, and they actively allow the words from the book to mingle with everything around them, the smells, the sounds, the city's rhythm.
And that immediately dictates the pace of the journey, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
If you're a skimmer, like the guidebook type, you're just dashing through 5 capital cities in 10 days. Everything just becomes a blur.
Yeah, a tick box exercise.
But if you're more of a lingerer like the poetry reader, you might stay a whole week in just one neighborhood. Reading both the book and the surroundings slowly, you're allowing the place to reveal itself.
Exactly. Reading the place itself.
The image the source uses here is so vivid. It talks about imagining Hemingway in Spain, the scent of the plaza mixing with the prose on the page, or maybe carrying a mystery novel in a rainy Dublin cafe. The page and the place genuinely talk to each other, making the whole experience deeper.
It deepens the connection, definitely.
But is the source arguing that this kind of deep immersion is required for all effective writing? Or maybe just the reflective kind, like memoir or poetry?
That's a really good clarifying question. I think the argument is more that this immersion trains the fundamental tool you need for all writing, and that tool is attention.
Oh.
So the deepest immersion gives you the richest raw material, sure. But even if you're writing a technical report later, you still need that trained attention. You need to notice how people behave under pressure, maybe, or how environments change subtly. That all comes from practicing deep attention, whatever genre you happen to be reading or writing in.
Got it.
And the real revelation here, I think, is the core definition of what it means to be a good reader. It's not about how many books you devour, like candy. It's about the quality of your consumption. It's about paying attention to how the writer achieves their effect.
Right. And when you read with that level of attention, You're essentially getting triple training for your writing skills.
Exactly. Deep reading trains your ear for rhythm. It helps you sense when a sentence needs a break or when maybe two phrases clash awkwardly. It also trains your eye for detail, forcing you to recognize specific, evocative imagery that really lands. And maybe most importantly, it trains your heart for empathy, which is just crucial for believable character development or even just accurately reflecting a human situation.
Okay, so here's where we get to the flip side then. The negative consequences of bad reading, which the essay basically defines as aggressive skimming. And the source says the cost is pretty high.
It really is.
When you constantly skim, instead of taking time to ponder, your own sentences apparently become utterly flat. The author describes them like instant soup without seasoning.
Ouch, yeah?
You just automatically rely on cliches because your internal reservoir of fresh language hasn't been, well, fed properly.
And the worst consequence, I think, especially if you're trying to write fiction or meaningful personal essays, is that you just miss nuance. The people you write about or the reflections you offer, they end up feeling thin, like cardboard cutouts instead of people with a pulse. That's the quote.
Wow, cardboard cutouts. That's harsh, but you can picture it.
Think about the difference, right? A flat sentence might be, the man was angry and went outside. Simple. But a sentence fueled by attentive reading might be something like, the man slammed the door, not with noise, but with a kind of quiet force stepping out into the cold air that carried the sour scent of last night's rain.
Okay, yeah. Big difference.
The difference is the texture, right? It comes from the detail the writer actually noticed.
That's compelling.
Yeah.
But let's talk practically for a second. How does simply noticing something like the faint smell of grilled sardines in Lisbon, how does that translate into writing a better technical report or, say, a clearer email? It feels like a bit of a leap.
Yeah, I get that. It's not about describing the sardines in the report, obviously. It's about the underlying mental habit you're building. Think back to the travel analogy. Bad readers write in a rush. Bad travelers speed through their itinerary. Both come home complaining that every city or maybe every project felt exactly the same.
Because they weren't really looking.
Precisely. They haven't trained themselves to see the complexity, the specifics. But the careful reader of a city notices those little things, that Lisbon smells faintly of grilled sardines perhaps, or that Paris traffic lights wait maybe 2 beats longer before changing than the ones in London.
Huh. Never thought about that.
Right. Those tiny, often overlooked details are what provide grounding and reality. So when you train your brain to notice those specifics out in the world, that training transfers directly. It helps you find the precise, necessary detail when you're trying to write about something abstract or technical. It forces clarity and specificity.
Okay, that makes more sense, the skill of noticing transfers. So the good news here is that becoming a better, more attentive reader doesn't necessarily mean you have to lock yourself in a tower with some massive 1,000-page Russian novel, unless, that's your thing.
Right. No specific reading list required.
It simply means reading with intention. It means maybe stopping to wander the side streets of literature instead of just sticking to the main highway all the time. And we actually have 5 specific actionable ways from the source material to help you train this reader's eye. Let's treat this like restocking your writer's toolkit.
Okay, that's it.
The first 2 are pretty essential. Number 1, read like a thief, which means borrowing tricks shamelessly. We're talking about noticing exactly how other writers structure dialogue, for instance, or how they begin and end their paragraphs, and then trying to replicate the mechanics of that effect in your own practice writing.
Stealing the technique, not the words.
Exactly. And second, slow down. Instead of just racing to the end of a chapter, maybe reread just 1 page and ask yourself, why did that specific sentence work so well? Or maybe, why did that description completely fall flat for me?
That intentional slowing down is so critical. It turns reading from just passive consumption into active analysis, active learning. When you read like a thief, you're basically trying to deconstruct the spell the writer cast. Why is this opening paragraph grab me immediately? You look closer and realize, oh, it's because the author used 3 short sentences followed by 1 long philosophical one.
Ah, structure.
Right, you steal the technique, not the content itself.
Okay, what's next?
Well, we can connect this to the third tip, which you might find interesting. Read aloud.
Read aloud. Why?
Because your eye is incredibly forgiving. It skips words, it fills in typos automatically, it forgives clunky rhythm without you even noticing sometimes. But your ear is an absolute tyrant. It will instantly catch that clunky phrasing or that awkward repetition that your eyes just let slide right past. You have to hear the music or the lack of music in the prose.
Huh. Okay, using your ear as an editor. I like that. I think the fourth and fifth tips really push against the instinct to just stick to what's comfortable. Number 4 is switch genres. The source highlights very specific benefits here, like reading memoir teaches you the dynamics of intimacy and vulnerability.
Hmm.
Poetry teaches you rhythm and compression, how to say something profound in like 5 perfect words.
That concision, yeah.
And even technical sources like really high quality travel guides, they teach absolute clarity and conciseness, how to get information across efficiently.
I love that they included travel guides. It just proves the point, doesn't it? Good writing isn't only about literary flair, it's also very much about communication precision.
Mm.
And by switching genres, you force your brain to engage different muscles, different ways of thinking.
Right,
If you only read literary fiction, maybe your sentences become overly ornate.
right.
If you only read reports, they might become too clinical, too dry. Mixing it up provides a more balanced diet for your writing brain.
A balanced diet, I like that. Okay, and the fifth tip.
Annotate your margins.
Writing in the book.
Yeah, a quick scribbled wow or maybe an ugh or even just an arrow pointing to a perfect word choice. It helps you recall exactly what hit home or what fell flat when you look back later. It captures that initial emotional or intellectual impact in the moment.
So it's like leaving breadcrumbs for your future self.
Kind of, yeah. As we connect this to the bigger picture, all 5 of these tips really emphasize that writing improves dramatically when you start treating reading as dedicated active practice, not just a casual pastime. You're mining the raw material and studying the masters all at the same time.
Okay, this loops us right back to that ultimate unifying analogy then. Writing for yourself is just like traveling for yourself. And the danger in both, well, it's planning the whole experience around other people's expectations.
Exactly. That external pressure again.
If you structure your trip just around hitting all the checklist items for Instagram, or trying to get family approval, or if you write solely to impress a boss or an editor, you just end up exhausted. You're lugging home memories or words that feel kind of borrowed, not really lived.
That's precisely why the private notebook is so indispensable. The source calls it the literary version of taking a solo trip.
No audience.
No required itinerary, no pressure to perform. Now, the risk is, sure, your work might become niche, maybe it's only truly meaningful to you, but the reward is undeniable originality, real authenticity.
Mm.
The moments that matter most, both in travel and writing, often come from capturing what you specifically notice,
Yeah.
not what you guess others expect to hear when you share it later. That freedom is what allows vulnerability and your true voice to finally emerge in your prose.
And that is the ultimate freedom we're talking about here, isn't it? The source material really shows that the best journeys and the best writing, they're the ones that involve some wandering, stumbling upon something completely unexpected, and just lingering with absolutely no agenda whatsoever.
Letting things unfold.
So what does this all boil down to? I think this deep dive really shows that our ability to truly observe the world, whether it's the quiet flicker of a Paris traffic light, or the texture of a silence in a room, or the specific way a character moves, that ability directly influences the vibrancy and texture of our written word.
Hmm.
You can really only write what you've first taken the time to truly notice.
You have to see it first. And the final takeaway, I think, is this. The discoveries you make when you're writing purely for yourself, they might not always impress anyone else, but those are the quiet, maybe profound moments that genuinely stay with you.
Yeah.
And they change you
Yeah.
in small, secret ways.
Right. So here's a final thought for you, our listener. If bad readers write in a rush and good readers know how to pause, what is one nonfiction source you already own, maybe sitting on your shelf right now, that you will intentionally read like a thief this week, applying just one of those 5 tools we talked about? Think about that, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.